This is the aftermath. I am joined today by Joe Aguila. Joe, how you
What's up,
doing today?
Lane? I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. Can't complain.
We are here to cover the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, PLE as you would call it nowadays, that we just saw tonight. Pretty good show that we had on hand, but for those of you guys that are watching, please, if you can, do us a little favor and hit the like button. That will help us out, and be sure to make sure you are subscribed. That will definitely help us out as well to get the word out that we are here each and every single week. So for those of you guys that are watching, make sure you do that, and feel free to please join in on our conversation because there is a number of stuff to unpack tonight, um, based off of what we saw. So a pretty good show that we had tonight. So Joe, let's just jump right into it. Everyone's
Yeah.
here to talk about Money in the Bank tonight. A pretty good pay per view. A couple predictable things that the IWC talked about that would probably happened, which is okay. Um, I got 3 out of 5 predictions right tonight. The last 3 matches I got right tonight. So a little pat on my back. I wasn't doing too well the first 2 matches. They went in different directions. But yeah. So we got to start this night off with a burial.
Yeah, let's do it.
We've been doing some burials lately, so let's do a burial. Here we go. Actually, it was a little too soon for the burial.
Why did you say
So
that?
we're gonna go back to it in a little bit.
Okay. But before we do that,
Let's talk. Yes,
was that your face on the shoveler from Mystery Men? For the for the burial picture? Was that you just now? Your face
you gotta
on
ask
the
that.
shoveler?
That was my face. But you gotta ask Pete Milano that one.
Okay. I'm pretty sure
I'm
that's
not-
the shoveler from Mystery Men. If you remember that
Probably.
superhero movie from the 2000s. Anyway, very funny. But yeah,
We're gonna go
we'll come
back
back
to
to
that.
it for sure.
Because I hit that too soon. But we had the men's Money in the Bank match tonight
Yes. Okay.
that started off the Money in the Bank pay per view. You knew the pay per view was going to start off hot. Drew McIntyre versus Jey Uso versus LA Knight versus Chad Gable versus Andrade versus Carmelo Hayes. I had Andrade as my dark horse here,
Okay.
just in case, because there wasn't really a build behind Andrade going into this. So I figured, you know what? Maybe he could be a dark horse here. He can win the Money in the Bank briefcase, and give him something to do and build for like the next year or whatever. They
Yeah.
obviously did not go in that direction. That's for sure. We're gonna get to that. But anyway, you could have stated a case as to, any one of these guys. You could have stated a case as for who could win the briefcase here. The favorite, in my opinion, um, I thought it was going to be Jey Uso winning, but
Yeah.
no, we have our new men's Money in the Briefcase winner, Drew McIntyre. How do you feel about the decision of Drew McIntyre winning this match before we go into anything else?
Before we go, okay, cool. So I'm gonna just say my reaction to as I was watching the match itself, right? So I'm not gonna talk about what happened afterwards. So match happens, and you know what? Same thing as you were saying that like the build up for each one of them, I feel like you could have made a case for most of them. Maybe not Carmelo Hayes, maybe not Andrade, but it definitely Gable, definitely LA Knight, and of course Jey Uso, the guy who was on the poster. You could have made a case for any
They
of
were,
those
they were
guys.
hyping. This is just me. They were hyping up Jey Uso a
They
lot
really were,
going into
and he
this
was the one
week
who
with the
came
money
out.
in the bank.
Yeah,
But
yeet.
go on.
And you also had that crowd reaction to the yeet and yeah, and it was like this mixed reaction. It was really cool. The crowd was really into it. And then all of a sudden, of course, you have Drew McIntyre who's in the match, and I'm like, it adds a whole other layer to what could have been really cool for any one of those other guys, in my opinion, right? And this is what I was feeling even in that match. And then when we see, what was it? Andrade do the sunset flip with Carmelo Hayes breaking the ladder. I'm like, okay, those guys are definitely out of the match. And then we're left with the other four. And I was like, any one of these four could do it. And at that point, I'm like, Drew could do it, cash in today, and then leave today having, settled some vengeance from WrestleMania. It seems like a really quick turnaround, but it would also make a really cool SummerSlam with Drew and Gunther. And I'm like, this is me thinking Drew cashing in tonight. This is like, all right, he could do it and he could cash in tonight. And then that's where I left off with the men's Money in the Bank, when I'm like, oh, wow, Drew won. I just wish they would have gone in a different direction. And I'm saying this now just because any of the other five guys could have done it. Could have done well with the briefcase, and the briefcase could have elevated their booking for the next however long. And I felt the same way, and I still feel the same way for those really quick cash-ins. I know Dean Ambrose famously did a very quick cash-in. Kane did a very quick cash-in. They're very quick cash-ins, and they do pay off. But just like with Senor Money in the Bank, Damian Priest holding that briefcase for a full year, almost what felt like almost a full year, like it really did elevate his booking for the next 10 months. So, in my opinion, I think
I
it
didn't really. Drew McIntyre wasn't really. It seemed like Drew McIntyre was the easy and obvious pick, and it
Yes.
turned out that was going to be the winner for tonight. So I shied away from Drew McIntyre a little bit, thinking that CM Punk was going to cost Drew. The Money in the Bank match, which we'll get into those details later. I thought CM Punk was going to show up during the first match. We didn't get that during the first match,
I was expecting it too.
but I was expecting that too as well. It just seems like Drew, with Drew calling his shot on Monday, that to me that this was going to be the obvious pick. So that's why I figured, let me go Jey Uso. He's hot. He's been
Yeah.
knocking on the door for a while, even longer than LA Knight or anybody. So
Yeah.
I didn't think LA Knight was. I didn't think he stood a chance in this one, but yeah, I felt like Jay's been knocking for a while. He's the hottest out of all of them right now. But let's talk about the match itself.
Yeah.
We saw some pretty cool stuff. Andrade with the sunset flip on the Hayes onto the ladder. I thought that was pretty cool. Gable almost won, but so he got he was hanging by a thread there. Jay speared Gable, and then Jay almost wins, so they did that tease, and then you see Drew come in with the ladder, followed by the Claymore, which leads to Drew's win. How did you feel like about the match itself? Like, what was like some of your favorite spots?
Yeah, definitely the sunset flip was, I think, my favorite spot of the night. And I'm like, good for them, because I think like when they create those montages about Money in the Bank, those are the things that you're going to see. And so if you're able to create a moment like that, then you really are like cementing some type of legacy somewhere. So let's say Carmelo Hayes and Andrade get lost in the shuffle of the mid card for a little while, at least they're going to have some highlights. And so, like, I think everybody overall tonight in either of those ladder matches did an excellent job. And I think WWE is really firing on all cylinders. It was a great physical match. I really, really thought Gable was really impressive overall. Obviously showing off his strength, but also dangling from the briefcase and then doing that front bump. AJ Styles did something very similar in a Money in the Bank match as well. It takes guts to be able to do stuff like that. And I know we're going to get to the women later, but like these ladder matches tonight really pushed the envelope, I think. And I'm wondering, I mean, how much of this is because AEW just put on Forbidden Door and their ladder match was actually really pretty cool too. I don't know if you caught that. But
I was there.
Oh, that's right. You were there. Right.
Yeah.
And I was very impressed with that ladder match and how physical and honestly, it wasn't bloody, but it was physical and was like, oh man, violent, right? Like hardcore, I would say. And then you come fast forward 6 days later, it's Money in the Bank, and it's designed to be ladder matches. And what's WWE's response but to have really physical, really good top level ladder matches? And so overall for the men's, great physical match. And like I said, apart from the booking of like how they're structuring these storylines, I think overall WWE has a really good grasp at creating these moments.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's move on. We had Braun Breaker challenging Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship match. This was a cool match.
Yeah.
These guys worked very well together. I felt their in-ring chemistry, at least from my perspective, very good match. Um, it, this has been brewing for a little while, and I have a feeling that this is not going to be the end of it. But we had a great match between these two tonight. The crowd was hot for Sami Zayn,
Oh yeah.
Canada's own.
Of
Braun Breaker
course.
had a new theme song.
I noticed that. Yeah, I noticed
A
that.
lot of people were like, his theme song started growing on me a little bit, but at the same time, his theme
It's
song was a little bit
generic.
generic.
Yeah,
So like
exactly.
this one, uh, there's a little bit more substance to his new song. So I'm looking forward to hear what the critics have to say about that. Um, but the crowd was definitely hot throughout this match. Very good intercontinental title match. False finishes.
Yeah.
Joe, let's hear some of your thoughts on this match.
So this is why I love Sami Zayn so much, because he can make most dance partners look uh, amazing. And of course, Braun Breaker, who is an incredible athlete. Uh, it's his, I believe, his first premium live event match for the main roster. Am I right? I believe so.
If I have to say yes.
I mean, he may have been obviously. I believe he was in the Royal Rumble and stuff like that. But for him, and also, of course, this is first singles title competition as well, and very, very impressive. And I honestly, there was a moment where I'm like, it's with all those false finishes. There's a moment where I'm like, would they take the belt off of Sami Zayn in Canada? And I honestly thought yes, they would, and they could. And wouldn't it be great for Braun Breaker, especially establishing himself so new to the main roster, to dethrone Sami Zayn in Canada? I mean, especially if you're going to try to build a heel, how much heat could that build? However,
Eh,
I love
yeah.
that you see the underdog champion overcome this giant of an opponent once again, because like before that he wrestled Bronson Reed and Gable, you know what I mean, obviously overthrowing Gunther before that. And so you see all of these obstacles in Sami Zayn's way, and I feel like that's going to be his run with the IC title, that he is going to be the underdog champion, and all of his title defenses are going to be, can Sami Zayn keep up with so and so? Tonight it was Braun Breaker. And to your point, I think that this rivalry could go on for a couple of months. Hopefully, it does, because tonight's match was great, and I love that Sami Zayn has that hometown crowd feel, defending the title. Which it's going to get into like what happens right after the match, but not too long ago did Sami Zayn come to the main roster debut in Canada to go up against John Cena for the United States Championship. That's where he tore his shoulder, right? And so, like, maybe I don't know, whatever year that was. Fast forward now, comes full circle moment. Now he's the defending champion, albeit the underdog, and comes out on top. So, like, good for Sami Zayn. He's always been one of my favorite wrestlers, and so great to see him do well.
Yeah, great match here. I wanted to see Sammy with a decent run. Obviously, he gets the win here. A couple notes. Sammy had a great Blue Thunder Bomb
Yes,
on Braun Breaker tonight. Braun Breaker with a beautiful Frankensteiner Sami Zayn. And then we had a couple cool spots, really. Sami Zayn tried hitting his first Haluva kick, and then Braun Breaker hit like a jumping knee to the face, which I thought was cool. Like I thought it was going to be a wrap there. It wasn't. But we saw Braun Breaker do his flying clothesline, jumping off the apron onto the announce table, onto Sammy right through the announce table, which I thought was pretty cool. He's been doing those spots like every week now.
And he does the high
Sam-
jump onto the apron to get there. That's crazy.
Yes, he did that. Yep, before the Frankensteiner. Yeah, amazing. Sammy hits an exploder in the corner to start wrapping up the match. Goes for the Haluva kick a second time, and finally hits it and gets the win here. So Sami Zayn defeats Braun Breaker. My prediction was absolutely wrong in this match. I had Braun Breaker getting a title win right away, kind of like Brock Lesnar getting his first title win, SummerSlam 2002 against The Rock. But anyhow, I definitely have Braun Breaker getting a rematch at SummerSlam and getting the win there. So I think that's going to be happening there. So that's where I'm at with that for now. I have much more to add on to that. But for those of you guys that are watching, please feel free to drop your comments on there. We want to talk with you guys to hear what you guys have to think. Yeah, join in on the conversation. So yeah, we have 3 more matches to go at this point. But then we have Trish Stratus. She comes out. She is the official host of Money in the Bank this year, being in her hometown of Toronto, in Canada, being a native there. So she comes out looking fine as always. And she then announces John Cena to come out. And the thing with John Cena is as soon as he came out, as soon he was wearing his red shirt, the last time is now. As soon as I saw that, I knew exactly where this is going. There was no, I knew exactly where it was going. I was like, all right, I have a feeling it's wrapping us up. And sure enough, John Cena announces his retirement. So, what did you think of his retirement announcement?
I didn't catch the T-shirt at first, but I caught the towel when he would drop the towel during his entrance. And the rumor mill was that he is soon going to be calling it a retirement. And oh man, it makes me feel old because I remember being like almost in middle school. Oh no, it was in the middle of middle school when John Cena debuted against Kurt Angle, and it's just like, dude,
Dang,
I
Joe.
know.
I was in. I
High
was
school.
in. No, no. I was
It
in
was 2002, 2003, I believe, somewhere
3.
around
Yep.
there.
I was in college. I was like I was basically doing part-time college for a few years. I was in my 3rd year of college though.
So yeah, I was in 7th or 8th grade, and I remember specifically
Wow.
the reason why I remember was because I had broken my wrist bike riding with my friends or whatever, and then it was the day that I got my cast off. And now you have to remember that this is when there's no DVR, right? So like I'm telling my mom, race home because I want to watch SmackDown. And so like literally when I get the cast off and I go home and I turn on the TV and it's Vince McMahon talking about ruthless aggression, or it was like a clip of it from the Raw before, and now it's SmackDown, and then John Cena comes out, and it's literally like that's when I turn on the TV and here's John Cena and like almost beating Kurt Angle. Fast forward to tonight, it's just like I've seen this dude's whole entire career. And there
Yeah.
aren't too many of these guys who are announcing their retirements. Like back when Edge did it, that was like, oh man, I saw this dude's whole career. Obviously, Edge is back, but John Cena, it's John Cena. It's just it immediately like seeing the last time is now. Those types of memories come flooding back up, like especially the first, but then I remember like this is what made me think about Sami Zayn was that the last time I saw John Cena wrestle in Toronto, if I'm not mistaken, was when he defended that against Sami Zayn, the U.S. title, I believe. I might be wrong on that, but I just remember that one specific moment in Canada. So in any case, yeah, John Cena's doing his thing. I'm glad that it's not right away. I'm glad that it's not like as of today, and hopefully he has a good farewell tour. Hopefully he does the house shows, because then that's a bunch of that's guaranteed sold out shows right there.
Yeah. So just a couple key points from his announcements. We see John Cena obviously announcing his retirement. He explains why he's announcing this tonight. It's because he wanted to announce it in front of Canadian fans, and he made a compliment to Canadian fans how they always show up. And I mean, you can hear them all night. The fans were loud all night long. Canadian fans have typically been very good. The European fans have shown that they can still be a lot better, for sure, a lot louder. But the Canadian fans are still better than the United States fans.
I think
There's
so
no
far
debate
this
on
year,
that.
Paris has it for me. The Paris crowd was really fun.
Yes, the Paris does, and like London, Scotland, like a close
Yeah, the Clash of the Castle was
second as
fine
far as
too.
loudest fans. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. United States fans compared to Europe, United States like a library, like
yeah.
a library.
At least now
You may as
U.S.
well show
fans
up. You
know
may as well
what
show up
they
to an
can
arena with
do.
the book and read while you're watching wrestling,
Yeah,
compared to Europe.
yeah,
But so a couple of the key points. Um, he had Cena felt that this was the perfect place to say what he's got to say because of his love for the Canadian fans. And besides, it's gonna be a little while before they go back into Canada, probably a couple months, if I had to guess. Um, and also he answers the question like, why now? Well, there's a couple pay per views coming up. He rattled off,
yeah.
and he went on to say that WrestleMania 41, I'll be there, hopefully in Vegas. WrestleMania 41 um, will be his last WrestleMania. He said like this Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber will all be his last. So I'm
Mm.
assuming he is going to be on a farewell tour and be a part of a farewell storyline, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah, and that'll be super fun to fantasy book too. Just like thinking about
I
like
don't think like
where can we
I,
fit
I
him?
don't think they give him a title run. They could, but I don't think they will. They do have the
It
t-
would beat
the
Flair.
title flexibility.
How that's drawing money right there. John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. You know what I mean? John Cena,
The-
Cody
eh,
Rhodes. It's not gonna
yeah,
happen. I
not
don't think.
not not with the title run, but
John Cena,
Cody
Cody
Rhodes.
Rhodes
I
to
mean,
Rock. You know,
no, I would keep Cena away from all that. I would say maybe have Cena lean more towards the Raw
or
title.
Randy. You could do
And
another one with Randy
oh yeah, so somebody was saying tonight that Randy Orton could be a huge possibility as a retirement match because those guys had a long story feud. Um,
somewhere on the farewell. Even if it's Elimination Chamber, even if it's Royal Rumble. Like give them at
yeah,
least one more match to say goodbye.
yeah. I mean, you could have Cena do the title. You could have Cena win the world title. Maybe Survivor Series or Rumble and drop it at WrestleMania or whatever. But
Could do that. Yeah,
you're gonna keep Cody away from that. I mean, because let's just say I already have Cody fantasy booked for next year to go against Gunther, and I've been booking
really.
that since I've been booking that since before or just after WrestleMania 39. So I've been booking that for a year. And if you guys don't believe me, I mean, I was telling everybody for one full year that we were going to get the Cody Roman Reigns rematch with a Cody win. So
I see the
hopefully,
Gunther Cody
people
match.
will believe me a little bit on this one because WWE has intentionally kept Cody and Gunther away for
Yeah.
a purpose. So
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I love the matchup, and I think it would be a great WrestleMania. I just think that there are very few wrestlers who, take precedent, and I think John Cena is one of them who like, all right, this is going to be his last one, and there's a very real possibility that they want to give him a 17th run, or at least a 17th title win. He could win it at WrestleMania and vacate it the next day. Uh, that'd be really lame, but is that the first time that WWE's done something super lame? No, but I don't know, man. It's going to be a fun run to fantasy book and to react and to really go along this journey with John Cena, and I want to make it a point to try and do that, I guess. But yeah, man, this one's a real one for me, I mean, and I'm surprised that I'm feeling so strongly about John Cena retiring, but it's John Cena.
Absolutely. You know what? Let's go to let's see. Oh, we saw some good stuff to talk about tonight. Jeez.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay. The women's Money in the Bank. And let me tell you, this was, as JR would say, an absolute slobber knocker. My goodness. I gotta tell you, these women took a lot of bumps tonight. We had Tiffany Stratton versus Naomi versus Zoe Stark versus Lyra Valkyria versus Io versus Chelsea Green. You could easily make a case for any one of these women to win. Maybe not as much as Zoe, but like I kind of had her like fifth or sixth in order.
Yeah.
But like Tiffany, Naomi, Chelsea, Lyra, you could state a case for any one of those as to why one of them should win. And anyway, moving on. I'm going to tell you who my pick was in the second and why. But I loved the Chelsea Green tease here because a lot of fans were saying, "Oh, Chelsea Green's going to win." I'm like, she's my dark horse, and I'll tell you why. Anyway, I love the storytelling here. The commentators are telling us she's afraid of heights in the beginning, so it was like she was timid going up the ladder. So I thought that was pretty funny. Her entrance was like her great. The other girls looked good too. Michael Cole doing a little bit more storytelling. The Lyra Valkyria, which is good, much needed.
Yeah, much
Because
needed.
we need to know what her identity is. So I think that she was kind of lacking a little bit of support there, which she got tonight. Zoe Stark, great wrestler. Otherwise, comes off as generic. She had a little face paint. She looked all right. Worked her ass off in the ring though, for sure. Naomi was good. She wasn't my pick to win. However, had Naomi won, she would have had a great match with like Bailey down the line. That would have been great to see.
Yeah.
But so anyway, we had a couple cool spots. Lyra Valkyria suplexing Io off the ladder while Lyra Valkyria was hanging upside down. I thought that was really freaking cool. Zoe Stark had a slam of Lyra slamming her onto the ladder. And then we see Tiffany knocking Chelsea off the ladder too. That was huge. The way this match ended, my jaw dropped. Like I was literally like, "You gotta be kidding me!" Those ladders were. I feel like they were a little bit taller than normal. Like they were high up.
Yeah, the one that
And
Chelsea Green brought
basically
in was
fell
very
from the
tall.
top.
Yeah.
That was some kind of bump that Chelsea Green took there, for sure. But as I predicted, I gotta give myself a pat on the back. Tiffany Stratton is your winner, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because she's been doing one heck of a job. I think she can lean into a little bit more of her character a little bit with the Tiffy time. Like, I don't know what we can talk more about that later, but I think she can lean more into that Tiffy time. Like she should like have some kind of design on her wardrobe, maybe have a clock on her wrestling gear with the letter T on one of the hour hands. Just kind of lean more into that a little bit. Like I just feel
She
like I
should
need to
do
see a little
the
bit more.
she should do a mixed tag with what's this guy's name? Kushida, the the Back to the Future guy. There you go. There's your time tag team. I'm just kidding. But what was it? Yeah, dude, this match, I honestly think Michael Cole and Corey Graves did an excellent job at building this match, especially with their honest reactions. Like, uh, at one point, Michael Cole said this is just like a car wreck, and Corey Graves was like, "Yeah, this is why we can't keep our eyes off of it because it is a car wreck. It's so," and it was so violent. And honestly, at the beginning, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, these girls are so unsafe and they're botching or something." But no, they're literally just like throwing caution to the wind, literally, and just going at it. And it was violent and it was physical and very impressive. I was very impressed with Zoe Stark, with how she handled a lot of the physicality, and she's one of like the powerhouses of the match. And so like just seeing her um try her best at taking care of everybody, in a way that, like, as best as you can, throw someone on top of a ladder. I think she does a good job at it. There was a point where she slammed her head when she was I think she suplexed Lyra Valkyria, and she slammed her head on the bottom rung of one of the ladders that was just laying around, and I honestly thought that she was going to get knocked out. But this was a crazy match to watch. But I
Absolutely.
also was thinking that Chelsea Green very well could have won. I also thought Naomi deserved to win. But in my opinion, there was no other person that should have won tonight other than Tiffany Stratton. And I think that this is a perfect place for her, especially if they want to continue building her, because she just lost against Bailey in a title match, right? And so like this is the next step for her, where now she has the briefcase and you can continue that feud, whether it's at SummerSlam during the Nia Jax Bailey match or even after that. You have again, this is where I think that a long-term booking could do someone wonders, like a Tiffany Stratton, where she has the briefcase and that could be her booking for the next 10 months until WrestleMania, you know.
So now
Yeah.
here's the thing. Here's my logic of why I was pretty convinced that Tiffany Stratton was going to win. One, she's got momentum. Then I'm also looking at fan popularity, the crowd reactions she's been getting. She's basically like she's heel. Almost comes off like a tweener at times, just because of the crowd reactions that she's getting. So she's a heel, but she's getting that fan favorite crowd reaction. And also, get this, Joe, don't be surprised in a week or two that WWE is going to come out with Barbie doll pink Money in the Bank briefcases for
Oh yeah.
Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany Stratton, Barbie doll, pink Money in the Bank briefcases. It's marketable. People are
I
going to
love it.
buy. That's why one
Absolutely.
of the reasons why I thought that Jey Uso was probably going to be winning, because they can kind of like market. So I was thinking about from a marketing strategy, not just like for other reasons, but from a marketing standpoint, I'm thinking maybe Jey Uso's going to win. They're going to sell Yeet in the Bank shirts and briefcases. But I definitely like 100% was sold that Tiffany Stratton was winning this one for months. And long and behold, I, I almost want to guarantee that there are going to be pink briefcases, Barbie doll pink briefcase, Money to Bank briefcases that kids are going to buy and go crazy for. It's going to happen. Like
Yeah.
it's there, and I'm sure it's already been thought of already. Um, so yeah, so that was my reasoning as to why Tiffany Stratton was going to win, and sure enough, she did. But Chelsea Green, she was the MVP of this match.
Oh, for sure. And I've said that before about Chelsea Green, where like you absolutely need someone like Chelsea Green who could take crazy bumps, who can be so entertaining. But honestly, like you need someone like that who could possibly be a winner too. Like very well could have won tonight, and that crowd would have been so hot for Chelsea Green had she won. But then, of course, you see her get set up, and like I always forget about when they set up those table towers like that. I'm like, throughout the match, I'm like, okay, someone's gonna go through those tables. And then all of a sudden, like it's towards the end of this match, and I completely forgot about it. And then all of a sudden, you see Chelsea go through the tables. Crazy, crazy that she was able to do that, and that it looked great. And then, of course, you have Tiffany get that moment. It was a very extended moment of her just on that ladder. She looked real comfortable up there. Great ending to a really incredible match.
Yeah, she's gonna be the next women's champion, but like you said, we
For
have
sure.
time to build that before I say too much before I get into the next but she's gonna need to carry the whole Money in the Bank gimmick for much of the next 6 to 8 months for sure.
And for
We got a
me, I think
comment
it's
here.
fun.
Shout out to everyone, including the Aftermath Pro Wrestling Podcast. Thank you so much for your comment. Appreciate it. Watching from the South Bronx. Thank you so much for your support. Really appreciate it. Joe, what were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, and like honestly, it's fun for as a fan to watch that the possibility of the cash in. You never know when that music hits. It's like, oh, could she do it? Could he do it? Damian Priest had a really good run with the briefcase. I think. Another person who had a really good run was Seth Rollins, Austin Theory, The Miz. When you think about that briefcase, and I think about even like guys Edge and CM Punk, like carrying the briefcase for a while is fun. And Big E said it best at the start of the pre-show, where it basically is like a fast pass at Disney World, where like instead of waiting your turn in line in the mid cards, you can go right up to the front and skip the line, and now you are automatically at least competing against people at the top level. You might like a Damian Sandow, or a Mr. Kennedy, people who failed to do their cash-ins.
Mm,
They're at least competing at that level. And so thinking about that, I'm like, think about all the people who lost tonight, the 10 losers tonight, men and women, like how many of them could have benefited from carrying a briefcase and having that be their booking for the next year. I think about guys like LA Knight and Jey Uso. I think about women like Naomi, or Io. Like, where do they go from here if they didn't get the briefcase?
exactly.
Someone like LA Knight, I feel like, man, he was so banking on this Money in the Bank thing, or like, anyone.
Well,
Name
here's the
any.
thing with LA Knight. Here's the thing with LA Knight. Like, so if you guys watched the prediction show a couple days ago, we basically gave you reason as to why each one of them are not going to win Money in the Bank, and one of those is LA Knight because the plan is for him versus Logan Paul at SummerSlam,
Yeah,
and I'm believing that LA Knight will win the U.S. title. So it's not like LA Knight has nothing to do or he's going to miss out on
you're right.
something. There's a plan for him for sure. So we only got about 20 minutes left before our Instagram live cuts out. So we want to try to squeeze it all in before then. Moving on, we're going to do the Seth versus Priest last.
Okay.
But we have the Bloodline versus Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. Solo came in with some massive heat tonight. There was at some point there was no official. We had the ref bump. The match was in chaos. Solo gets the win for the Bloodline tonight, rightfully so. Uh, Bloodline is what we predicted was going to win tonight as well, because why book the Bloodline to lose when you're trying to build them up for a bigger part of WWE's main storyline, heading into Survivor Series and then WrestleMania season. So Bloodline gets the win here. Good wrestled match. Jacob Fatu's debut. He didn't really overexpose himself too much. And what I mean by that is he didn't give away all his good moves. I noticed because I've seen a lot more out of him in the past than what we got out of him tonight. So sometimes it's not always great to show all your cards at once. But we did see a pretty good showing with Jacob Fatu. Um, So Bloodline gets the win here. The match served its purpose. I was surprised that Cody took the pin here, but I understand why they're doing that because I'm believing that Solo is now gonna state a case for himself on Friday Night and SmackDown, where he's gonna, hey, I pinned you in the 6 man. I want my title match at SummerSlam. So I think that's exactly where we're going. Cody versus Solo, and that's where the next chapter, the Bloodline storyline, is going to continue from there, where I believe Roman Reigns will come back. But what did you think of tonight's 6 man match?
Yeah, I think you got it spot on. And I also had the Bloodline winning tonight. Same reasons. You're
Uh-huh.
building up this new faction. You're building up Solo Sokoa as the new self-proclaimed head of the table, self-proclaimed tribal chief. And so, I think they absolutely needed the win. Jacob Fatu's debut. Also, you got Cody Rhodes taking the pin is huge. And to your point, I think that is exactly going to be the state of claim for Solo Sokoa to challenge for the title. And I think that Cody has no problem with that. As he said, I think it was last Sunday where Cody Rhodes was like, I should be defending my title here. Oh no, he said it at Madison Square Garden. He said, I should be defending my title here. And instead I'm doing all of this with the bloodline. But I think that that's making way for a great SummerSlam match between Solo and Cody. Maybe a Randy and KO tag team against the rest of the bloodline. Maybe, I don't know. But I think Solo versus Cody is the way to go for sure for SummerSlam. And then maybe bring Roman back and then have it be the start of the Bloodline Civil War at Bad Blood in October. You know,
I mean, I mean,
who's knows what the
I think that um, that storyline is already kind of gonna start in SummerSlam because leading up to today, the past like 2 weeks, Solo has already officially knighted himself as a tribal chief,
Yep.
saying Roman's never gonna come back. He's no longer the tribal chief. He couldn't get the job done. So now all of a sudden Roman Reigns has a reason to come back. And the moment he comes back, I don't think there's not gonna be no patty kick involved. I think Roman's gonna come and help out Cody at SummerSlam because of all the shenanigan interference that's gonna happen. Um, so I think that's where we get Roman, and then from there we slowly start building towards the Civil War. Um, the Bad Blood,
Yeah,
maybe
it's no
Rock is by
coincidence.
then. Maybe they do Cody Rock. I don't know because they want to get to that match, but Cody Rock's not happening at WrestleMania. I'll tell you that right now. It's gonna be Rock versus Roman Reigns. Cody will have his own thing, in which I believe it's gonna be against Gunther, defending his championship against Gunther, which means Gunther's not winning at SummerSlam.
Mm,
Gunther will win the Royal Rumble because he's been knocking on that Royal Rumble door for 3 years now. He'll finally
yeah,
win the Rumble, and then he could choose any champion he wants. Now the Royal Rumble gives him an excuse to jump show and challenge Cody. That's how we get
interesting.
there. But let's backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, what were we talking about?
We were talking about Solo Cody and SummerSlam, Roman Reigns and the Bad
Yeah,
Blood. I just thought that I'm like, wow,
yeah.
I think there's no coincidence that they're bringing back Bad Blood to coincide with the Bloodline. But also, of course, there's going to be bad blood between most of the feuds anyway, and it's a great, in between
Yeah, we'll
SummerSlam and
probably get
Survivor
like a
Series.
Roman versus Solo match at Bad
Maybe just
Blood,
like a
maybe.
yeah, it could be just like a singles match between the two, and before you get to Survivor Series in November, and it's going to be legit Civil War in War Games,
And you'll throw them all in one match.
throw them all in.
Yeah, yeah.
Or you could have Roman Reigns come back at Bad Blood, and then that sets up for Survivor Series War Games. But I mean, I just
They
don't see
could,
it.
but I think SummerSlam is the time.
Yeah, yeah, I
Honestly,
think so
honestly,
too.
I think Roman Reigns would have been back already had his real life situation with his father passing had not
Sure.
happened. I think Roman Reigns would have been back already. Um, but they probably had to do a little pivot, but that's okay. I mean, you still have
Yeah.
plenty of time between now and Survivor Series, and then um, WrestleMania season to build up this next chapter. So yeah, I
Yeah.
have Roman coming back at SummerSlam for sure. I'd be surprised if he didn't. I really would. But you got to do it at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
It's basically um, the second biggest show of the year. So
Yeah.
you got to do it there. Got to do it there.
Real quick,
But yes,
you just mentioned Roman Reigns, and obviously, he lost his father, and so it reminds me that, and it got me chills thinking about this. Whenever they do bring him back, there's this imagery going on with that red necklace lei thing. They gave it a real Samoan name. I don't know it off the top of my head, but that symbolizes the head of the table, the tribal chief, right? And Solo put it on himself, right? Or whatever. The new bloodline gave it to him. Whenever Roman Reigns comes back, I guarantee you, at least they should, show when he was given that the first time, it was Alpha and Sika who showed up at the end of, I forget what pay-per-view it was, but it was when Roman Reigns beat Jey Uso for defending the title, and then you see Alpha and Sika come out, and then he gives Roman Reigns that leg, the necklace, declaring him head of the table. That is sitting on Solo Sikoa's neck right now, and I feel like pulling in that footage of Roman Reigns' father putting on that tribal chief necklace on him, I think is really sentimental, and it adds another layer of meaning to that upcoming civil war between them. I just, again, it pays respect to the real blood that they really all do share, and the fact that, like, what they are all doing from the start of the bloodline till now, till moving forward, it is really paving the way for a whole Samoan dynasty to be represented and celebrated, and to be booked really strongly in WWE at the top level of professional wrestling. There's always been room for Samoans in wrestling, but it's never been this celebrated before, and it's really cool to see.
yeah, definitely the necklace is going to play a part into the future storylines for sure, no doubt about it. I mean, the necklace signifies tribal chief status, so I'm led to believe that that necklace is going to be. It's on Seth's neck. It's on Solo's neck for now, but I think that's going to be going back to Roman eventually for sure.
Yeah.
To pay off this part of the Bloodline storyline. So we got a couple minutes left. This is I wanted to save the best for last as far as the men's go. Talking Seth Rollins versus Damian Priest. For those of you guys that might be watching on Instagram Live right now, we're gonna cut out in like 10 minutes. Jump onto our YouTube channel if we go over. Just to give you guys a heads up. Those of you guys that are watching, feel free to leave comments on what you guys thought about tonight's Money in the Bank match. Feel free to give us a like. That'll help us out a lot. So this was probably my favorite, one of my favorite of the night. We had Drew McIntyre calling his shot, saying that if he wins Money in the Bank, that he will cash in during the Drew McIntyre. I'm sorry, during the Damian Priest versus Seth Rollins match in their title match, and obviously we talked about it earlier. Drew McIntyre won the Money in the Bank briefcase. So this is where I wanted to throw in the burial segment right here. Hold on, guys. So I'm sorry, we have to bury the fact that the Money in the Bank briefcase was won and cashed in on the same night. I absolutely hate that. Now I have to wait a whole another year for another men's Money in the Bank briefcase for that whole thing. So now that's why I told you guys earlier, Tiffany Stratton's gonna be holding this briefcase for a while just to keep the Money in the Bank briefcase gimmick going for a while, and hence briefcase sales. That's probably happening. But I do not like the fact that this happened the way it did. I had better alternatives, which we predicted Priest would still win. So we got that right. But I did not like the fact that the briefcase has come and gone in just a matter of less than an hour's time between the time that the match was won by Drew and then by the time he cashed it in. So we had a pretty good match. Seth Rollins looked a little rusty tonight, but that's okay. He may put on a couple pounds too. I'm not gonna lie, but not too crazy, but just enough to be a little noticeable. Um, Overall, Seth, my expectations of Seth was a little low tonight, knowing that he's this is his first match back. So he met and exceeded my expectations. And Drew and Seth, I think they had a very good match. They had a banger. It was a great match
Yeah.
until in what I perceive to have happened, Damian Priest forgot to kick out.
Yep.
And that was almost a bot. That was a big bot spot.
Yep.
Listen, it's one thing, it's one thing, you're jumping on the ropes and the ropes are a little slippery, you mess up, whatever. But then this, like, everybody's gonna talk about this moment. It just, I don't know, but I thought I got to give these guys roses. I mean, I thought they worked very well together. I think Damian Priest has a lot to improve on, but has also been improved at the same time. But basically, we see Drew telling the rest of Judgment Day to stay out, and they did, so which was cool. We knew CM Punk was definitely showing up because he didn't show up in the ladder match. He finally showed up during this cash-in. Cost Drew McIntyre the cash-in. Drew running in, and Samantha Irvin pronounces the match a triple threat match as soon as he cashes in. CM Punk costs Drew as Drew's about to wrap up the match. I was thinking to myself, oh no, we can't have Drew win here and have Priest have a 2-month run. But anyhow, CM Punk screws over Drew. That Money in the Bank briefcase was very short-lived. And we are definitely going to be getting Punk versus Drew. Non-title. Doesn't need a title at SummerSlam, I would think.
Yeah.
So what were some of your thoughts on this?
So
I think you had some. You said earlier you had some venting to do.
Yeah, man. So the first thing, no, dude. So the first thing was the botch, I think, and it was, again, I've said this before on here too, that like I never like complaining about professional wrestlers because I'm not a professional wrestler. So if someone makes a mistake, makes a mistake. However, you are the world champion in arguably the main event, and now you are expected to build a finish, to build the story, and you mess it up. And am I? Waste of a briefcase.
No, leave a comment. Waste of a briefcase.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jason.
Yes, waste
My thoughts
of
exactly.
a briefcase.
Waste of a briefcase. For
wouldn't
sure.
have been. It would not have been a waste of the briefcase had he won. If he had won the title, great, cool. It's a same night cash in, and lo and behold, it happened. Cool. It happened before. I think Alexa Bliss did something very similar, right? This might be the first same night cash in for a failing attempt. A lot of the same night cash ins are successful. Would I feel the same way if Drew McIntyre's music interrupted the count? Maybe that's what was supposed to happen. I don't know. If Drew McIntyre's music interrupted the count, I think that would make sense as to why Damon didn't kick out. However, that didn't happen, and it looked like Seth Rollins technically won, but it just, it's a mess. And to the commenter,
I liked the storytelling. The storytelling of the match was pretty good in between. The storytelling made sense because you had Damian Priest constantly looking towards the entrance like waiting
Yeah,
for Priest, waiting for Drew to come out. Seth looking at the entrance, yelling for Drew to come on out. So I thought that
I thought that was
storytelling was pretty
smart.
cool.
That was very smart to do, and that was very smart that they included that, and it's, of course, Drew McIntyre calling his shot, and so like everyone was prepared for it. But when it happened, I'm just like, why waste it on and let him fail? You know, just to build heat for SummerSlam, like that match is going to be hot enough. We're ready for it. We're just waiting for CM Punk to be cleared and ready to go. We're waiting for SummerSlam because it's a big stage. You didn't need to bury the Money in the Bank briefcase. And this is what I meant from the beginning. Like, couldn't anyone else have like done something? Couldn't CM Punk, to your point, cost Drew McIntyre the briefcase, give the briefcase to someone else? Oh, guess what? You're still building heat towards SummerSlam because CM Punk messed with Drew McIntyre. But it messes with him in a way that it also affects Seth Rollins. It affects Damian Priest. Of course, you're going to see people complain about the botch. Like, this was a mess. It was a mess. And like, I have not been very disappointed in WWE in a very, very long time, but today was one of those times where I'm like, I'm legit disappointed in how some of this, like legit, like why it. I'm like, someone make it make sense to me, you know?
I feel that there was definitely another way around this. You could have had Jey Uso or someone else win the men's Money in the Briefcase, and then build that up for an entire year or so.
Yeah.
You could have had you could have done this a little bit of another way. I had
Or
Priest winning. I had Priest
yeah,
winning, so that was really good. But go on.
yeah, or because Samantha Irvin announced that it's a triple threat, and they made the observation that CM Punk came in, interfered, and it's still a legal match because it's a triple threat. That could have been a reason for Judgment Day to come out and secure the victory for Damian Priest, right? And then CM Punk still cost Drew McIntyre the match. Damian Priest still looked strong. And it's like, and you're also building some tension between Damian Priest and Finn Balor because they're like, no, dude, I told you not to come out. Finn Balor could be like, no, dude, triple threat, it's legal, you know? But again, that could have been
They
something just
could
to add
have
a little.
done that. They definitely could have done that. I have a feeling I'm getting the vibe that they might be saving Priest and Finn Balor for later, maybe in the
Yeah,
fall. Maybe Bad Blood.
could be. Could be.
Maybe
And I
right
like
around
the
there.
idea.
We'll have to see.
Yeah, I like the idea of the possibility of Damian Priest leaving the Judgment Day, but honestly, like, yeah, that match of
I'm honestly not ready for it yet. I am
yeah,
emotionally, as a wrestling fan, not ready for that yet. I will tell
yeah,
you though, the way that this was booked, Triple H added another layer back into this program because what we
mhm,
saw happen afterwards is that we saw an irate Seth Rollins. So now they're going to be kicking up that
yeah,
while the Punk Drew stuff is going to be wrapping up sometime around the fall. There's going to be an overlap where Punk is going to be feuding with Seth. Wouldn't be surprised if there's a triple threat at SummerSlam. Um, but Seth may try to interject or somewhere down the road because we already know that Priest is going to be with Gunther at SummerSlam, where I
right.
believe Priest is winning. But there could be like a future triple threat there, or a match going on, you know. But Punk and Seth is rumored to be happening at WrestleMania, so we could get something there as well. I feel like
Yeah,
it's a
10
little
seconds
too
for
soon to.
Instagram Live.
I'm not even worried about it at this point. But thank you though.
Yeah,
Um,
no worries.
so um, so what was I saying? So we got Seth Rollins and Punk that's starting. But that what I thought was gonna be WrestleMania. Maybe they're gonna start that sooner. You know, we'll see how that turns out. But now Punk's got even more to deal with on his hands. He's got the Drew situation. Now Seth is going to be irate on Monday Night Raw. You got to believe that they're going to do that. So there's a lot there going on, which is going to be interesting. Multi-layered.
Yeah.
Triple H is building for SummerSlam, but he's also long term building with Seth Rollins here, which I thought was good. So
Yeah, I mean that
you know what? Not for
reminding us
nothing.
of their feud. Go ahead.
There's so many good storylines. Like at this point, you know, the Money in the Bank briefcase not having one for the men this year. You know, it might be irrelevant at this point. You know, it sucks that
Yeah.
it kind of came and went within an hour, but at the same time, there's so many feuds. Like Triple H, I guarantee you, has a full Rolodex of matches and feuds he hasn't even gotten to yet that he already has lined up, and we're just kind of seeing that slowly unfold, which is pretty cool. And not to mention, we got the Wyatt Six, which I was kind of surprised that we didn't get an
Mm.
appearance by them tonight. But you know they're going to be starting that up more full fledged as time goes on too.
Yeah, I was gonna say that like a lot of this is gonna be a hard reset once WWE gets onto Netflix anyway. You know, the rumor mill has it that it's gonna be uncensored and it's gonna be going back to a little bit more graphic, whatever that the case may be. And so a lot of this might look very different come January anyway. But to your point, I think that with the Wyatt Six, um they could have very well come in and caused a lot of disturbance, and that could have been a very good way of introducing like an Uncle Howdy to like the main event scene, you know. But again, there's so many different things. I agree that there's so many different storylines that you can occupy a lot of people with good booking. I just it's still so fresh that the Money in the Bank is now behind us. I look forward to it every year. I look forward to who might hold the briefcase. And, you know, it would have benefited so many other guys had it gone to, let's say, a Jey Uso. Um, I just think that it was a waste. It was a wasted opportunity, but interested to see what they make of it, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Damian Priest, well, he's gonna hold it on until Gunther. All right, so Joe, my favorite part of the show is where do we go from here?
Yeah,
Where do
man.
we go from
Ugh.
here? Where are we
So
going?
our next stop is SummerSlam, if I'm not mistaken, right? And so,
Yep.
uh, man, Damian Priest versus Gunther. You're calling it Damian Priest is holding it, right?
I'm calling Damian Priest to hold the title until SummerSlam. No, I'm sorry. I
Till
have Damian
Mania.
Priest probably holding it till Survivor Series because
Okay,
I think you got to try to get the title on either Rollins or Punk, and then establish a Punk versus Rollins main event at Mania. So
nice.
I'm
I
thinking
think
probably Punk or Rollins beats Priest, and then whoever doesn't beat Priest out of those two will challenge at Mania. Um, keep in mind there are a number of ways to get to WrestleMania. There's Royal Rumble and Elimination Chamber. I have
yeah,
Gunther win the Rumble, so that means somebody else has got to win Elimination Chamber. Or yeah, we'll figure that out at
yeah,
that
yeah.
time comes. But let's just say there's multiple
I like
ways
Gunther in the
to get
Rumble.
yourself into. Yeah, and I like Gunther in the Rumble too because I've been calling it for well over a year now that Gunther was going to win this Rumble in 2025 and challenge Cody at 41. So far, my prediction's intact, and I want to be right. So I got to stick with it. Again, that could change at SummerSlam where maybe Gunther does lose, but
Maybe
but
John
yeah, no,
Cena wins the
or
Rumble.
maybe he does win, but I don't know. I'm not. I'm not. I'm trying not to book John Cena in any title program. They could do that just to give him that 17th win, and then he could ride off in the sunset. But John Cena doesn't need the title.
No,
Um,
I don't.
look. Just think of how good WWE's been doing without Roman Reigns lately. You know, they've been doing
Yeah,
great with him, but they've also been, they the ship keeps going. It's been really good.
Yeah, I think it's about how well they want to treat John Cena. They want to give him the best, but like, what does that really entail? Also, like, like how much creative control does John Cena have with his booking?
I mean,
Um,
honestly, I think when it get, if I'm WWE, I'm thinking you feed John Cena to Braun Breaker.
oh, that'd be cool to build
You
to
feed John
at
Cena to
least
Braun Breaker to
build
fill
a
Braun
new
Breaker.
guy.
Your next big guy. Braun Breaker is
Could
going to be
be,
the next big guy of the WrestleMania 40s era, like Roman
yeah,
Reigns was with the 30s and Cena to the 20s. Braun is the guy for the
yeah.
40s. Just right now, it's cooking, and within the next year or so, he will be a world champion and will carry the torch for the WWE for the next 10 to 15 years to come.
Yeah. Let us not
Um,
forget that also John Cena lost clean to Solo Sikoa. And so maybe he want during his farewell tour, he might want to revisit that.
get that win back, maybe. You got to remember, like, you got to keep Solo hot and Bloodline hot right now. So if Solo's gonna take a loss, it can't be until like SummerSlam, and then it can't happen again for a while after that.
Oh, you mean SummerSlam of
Um,
next year?
no, 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 no. If Solo's gonna take a loss, the only loss that you should take would be against Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam,
Oh,
and
okay.
then
Yeah,
you
I
shouldn't
see what
take a
you're saying.
loss for a while because you got to keep the Bloodline strong.
Yeah, I
So
see what you're saying. Yeah,
So when Solo loses, it's going to be because Bloodline interferes and Roman comes back and then helps, and then we're off to the
you know what though?
races
But
with the Civil War.
that feather in his cap of beating John Cena clean is really important. At least in my opinion, it's important to have that, and it reminds me of someone like a Kevin Owens who very similarly beat John Cena clean at a pay per view in his debut pay per view on the main roster. So beating John Cena is not impossible, and someone like Braun uh, could do really well with sending off John Cena. Although, think about Baron Corbin technically retired Kurt Angle, and let's see, you see how well that's doing.
I wouldn't say Braun Breaker got buried again tonight. I mean, I was honestly expecting Braun to win, but I wouldn't say that Braun got buried. I think he looked good in the midst of defeat,
Oh,
and
he looked
I did
incredible.
I did this is a to be continued with this story.
Yes,
We
it
have not
should
seen
be.
the last of Braun versus Sammy. I'm fully expecting Braun to be totally outraged on Monday, tearing up crap in the back room and demanding a rematch against Sammy. And then I think Braun gets it at SummerSlam as well. So I think that's happening. But um, but getting back to what I was talking about, where do we go from here? So we have Damian Priest challenging Gunther. I'm sorry, Gunther challenging Damian Priest because Gunther won the right as he had won the King of the Ring tournament to be the number one contender at SummerSlam. So we have Damian Priest. I believe is going to retain and holds for a little while longer, a couple more months, and then Gunther will do whatever until January. Royal Rumble season comes February 1st rather. Um, and Bailey, she's going to be challenged. Nia Jax is going to be challenging Bailey, and I believe Nia wins it here. But I think we're going to pump the brakes on the Tiffany Stratton cash in for now, since it's just one briefcase. I think Tiffany Stratton's going to hold that for a while. Um, and what else? Where else do we go? Who else do we got to cover here?
I
As
agree
far
with
as
you about Nia Jax too, because I mean, if we have both King and Queen of the Ring going for their
yeah,
respective titles, it would make sense for at least one of them to win one. It wouldn't make sense for at least for me thinking about King and Queen of the Ring. If they're making it wanting to build that as like a prestigious thing, I would want just like the Money in the Bank. If they're gonna, introduce it, let it be looked at as successful. So if you have Damian Priest retaining, I would have Nia Jax. If I'm a booker, I would have Nia Jax beating Bailey, who, again, I don't want to use the word disappointed, but Bailey, I wish had a much more prominent title run than she has had. Great to see her as champion, and I know the crowd loves her, especially the international crowd. They love singing at her, the hey Bailey, so like great on that. But I just think that one of the king or
Bailey's turning out to be a better heel.
yeah.
Like her heel character is better than her current character she has now. So why am I supposed to be rooting for Bailey right now? What's her story? You know,
I don't
she before she became heel, she had the inflatable, she was the hugger, she had her identity. Then she went to a heel. Great, she, new character. She had her talk show, always ripping on Michael Cole. Like, she had her identity. I feel like now that she's broken away from Damage Control, she's not a heel anymore. Again, a common problem, even with AEW sometimes and WWE, is that I need to see more character building. Like each wrestler should have a character and be presented in a way that you're going to remember them for years to come. And
know.
there are a lot of characters on air that just don't that are not hitting with me like that. And one of them was Bailey. Like, what's your deal now? Why are we rooting for you? So I believe Bailey's going to drop that title to Nia. I think Nia deserves her flowers. So I think that's where you go with that too. Not to mention DIY just won the tag titles
Oh, great tag
on
match.
Friday night. Um, did I don't think we saw any dissension to my knowledge between Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. So I would probably expect that to maybe start up on Friday.
Yeah, you saw a little bit. Grayson Waller accidentally hit Austin Theory. You can make
We
the
saw
case
that.
that you can make the case that Grayson Waller tapped and Austin Theory did not. So they could blame him that way. Those guys without the titles, I think just feuding with each other might make sense. Both of them are pretty good talents, and I think could do well as heels. Chasing after one of the mid card titles. And so that could be where they go from there. But DIY, really coming full circle, getting their first main roster title reign as tag team champions, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and so
Yes.
good for them. I mean, I love both of those guys, especially in their NXT runs, and they really carried NXT. And to see them now on the main roster, now under Triple H's, creative control, and just seeing how he's handled their booking, it's really cool to see. And good for them that it happened in Toronto. So
Yeah, I mean they have a long history with Toronto. They won the NXT tag team titles there, and they've done other stuff there in Toronto. So that city means a lot to them. So again, it meant a lot to them to win the tag titles there last night.
yeah,
So that was a good move there, and let's see what they do there. But yeah, that basically covers everything. We are gonna be back with a podcast episode live on Tuesday night. Not We're not gonna be on Monday nights, so I'm gonna replace that by Tuesday night with doing a podcast episode. The week after, Joe, we will do our Becky Lynch book review. So that's
dude,
going
I'm
to be
ready.
pretty cool. I am so ready. I'm still thinking about like what points I want to talk about, and then I just got to dive into those and get that ready. So we were
I
originally
will
going to
say
do that
this.
a couple days ago.
Yeah, I will say this. It was just announced like maybe a day ago, yesterday maybe, that it is officially a New York Times bestseller, and it just got on there. So congrats to Becky Lynch on that. It's a very hard accolade to have, especially as an independent writer. So good for her that she was able to do that.
Such a great book, and the audio that she did backing up the book. You can get on Audible or Libby. I did the audio from Libby with Becky Lynch commentating the book. I thought it was absolutely. She did such a wonderful job. Well put together.
Yeah, we'll definitely get
So
into that for sure.
So we got the book review coming up in about 2 weeks. We have our Raw post. I'm sorry, not gonna be the Raw post show, but it'll be the podcast episode. Those of you guys that are watching, excuse me, let me clear my throat. Um, Give us a like on our video. That'll help us out. And make sure you guys join us, subscribe, help out the channel. And thank you guys so much for watching. Joe, thank you so much for hopping on today. Um,
Absolutely, bro.
and we will catch you guys very soon. We'll see you guys in a couple days.